After having an intimate moment together, she had a confession. Hi there, welcome to Reddit Goat channel. Today we are going to have another unbelievable cheating story. But before we get started, please hit the subscribe button and click the notification bell so that you won't miss any of our daily cheating stories. I am 30 and she is 26. We met on the Facebook dating app a month ago. She was looking for a long-term relationship, as was I. She told me how her husband had died a few months prior from COVID and was in a coma for 2 months before that. She said her mother-in-law had taken custody of her 2 boys because she had a mental breakdown when she learned her husband wasn't going to wake up. She didn't go into detail, but it was implied that she was admitted for a short time to a mental institution. These are all very red flags, but she seemed very genuine and I really felt for her. I looked at her and saw a person in desperate need for a win. She said her best friend from childhood, whom she called her sister, had just died in a car accident as well around the time her husband had died. It really seemed like the world was absolutely coming down on her. I treated her to dinners, movies and lended her an ear whenever she needed someone to talk to, which was many hours of every day. She lives with an older guy. A guy that owns a home locally that she and her husband had roomed with prior to his death. The roommate, as she affectionately referred to him as, was a 50-plus-year-old dialysis patient. The one time I met him, he talked over her for nearly 2 hours, as if I was there to get to know him. Told me all about his dialysis and how he believes he has about 4 years left to live, which I was sympathetic to. But during the whole interaction, he was very rude about my date's late husband. Calling him a control freak and just speaking ill of the dead pretty blatantly, which clearly made my date uncomfortable. I steered the conversation away and the roommate took the hint, leaving us alone for the rest of the date. Around 10 p.m., I was kissing my date goodnight, which turned into a brief make-out session. The roommate, upon hearing our smacking, walked into the kitchen, grabbed a bag of cookies and threw them at my date as hard as he could. I deflected the bag and said, "What the fuck, dude? Don't throw shit at her." He responded, "I think it's time we cut this little date short. Everyone has to work tomorrow." It was pretty difficult not to raise my voice further, but she pulled me outside. As we stood on the porch, she spotted him staring at us and closed the door, exasperated. She said he was protective after everything that had happened to her. I left, with an awful taste in my mouth. She later texted me that he had felt disrespected by our actions because he had admitted earlier to having feelings for her. This was a lot. In retrospect, I should have just walked away there. But I continued to be the one she could talk to. I encouraged her to be careful with someone willing to throw things at her. She promised to call if anything got out of hand. She would text me later that her mother-in-law was accusing her roommate of claiming her and her 2 children on his taxes, which really upset her. She said she felt betrayed by her roommate after helping care for him during his dialysis treatments. But she had nowhere else to go. She asked if I wanted to hang out on New Year's Day, what would be our 3rd date. I agreed and asked if she had plans for the 31st. She said she and an old female friend of hers were going to Atlanta to get drinks and have fun. I knew there would be dancing with other guys and flirting, but I'm not really bothered by the night scene. I had done a bit of harmless flirting with other girls since she and I had been talking, after all. And I figured a night of drinks and fun would be good for her anyway with all that already gone down. And anything that got her away from her weirdo roommate was good press for me. She called me at 11 on New Year's Day. I was still asleep. I woke up at noon and went to pick her up. When I picked her up she seemed a little tired, but seemed happy to see me. We had planned a day at my place watching movies on my couch. Moments after arriving at my house, things got sexual. We spent around 3 of the 5-hour date having all kinds of sex, including me eating her out multiple times and her stacking so many orgasms that my sheets were soaked. We cuddled and talked about the future and what we planned to do. We had previously made the relationship official, but agreed not to advertise it on social media so her mother-in-law wouldn't use it to keep her kids from her any longer. I dropped her off and came home to smile and enjoy the fact that I had finally found someone worth fighting for. Then, I got this text. "I need to tell you the truth. My roommate and I are friends with benefits. We went to a swingers club last night. He ate me out 3 times while I was waiting for you to pick me up today. That's why I was so tired we didn't get until around 8. I'll spare you the exact text that followed, but I was totally floored." She went on to express hopes that she could keep seeing me in spite of this revelation, and I told her we were done. I really have no idea how much of what she told me was even true. I'm fucking reeling. I can't believe I was so blind. Was a single fucking thing she said true? WTF just happened to me? Exclamation mark. Here are some of the best comments from our community. There is probably a good reason why the kids are with her mother-in-law and not her, as well as why she, too, isn't with the mother-in-law. She wanted you to accept an open-type arrangement to eventually use you for financial security while she did her thing. You dodged a large bullet. Strange she would come clean when she did and how she did. Wow. No dude, nothing she said was true. This is a fucking disaster waiting to happen. She's got way too much baggage to be the new guy around. She's a pass around and is banging nearly dead dude for rent. Run, don't walk. I get it, we want to see the best in people. Give them the benefit of the doubt. Lesson learned, never speak to this woman again and move on. Someday this will be a story you can hopefully look back on and laugh. The only other comment I can make here is that you have white knight syndrome or the need to rescue others. I get that you had sympathy for her, and I would have, too. But that's a lot of baggage to try to take on, and unless you're a professional counselor or therapist, stay away from people like that. You aren't qualified to treat them, and she needs a lot of treatment. Like others have stated, get tested for STDs. Go and see with her ASAP. Block her on all of your social media. Disconnect yourself from hers. Take some time for yourself. You probably won't need too much as you weren't in a later with her. But do take a little time to reflect on what you experienced, what to look out for in the future, and how to avoid/mitigate these kinds of situations. Sending you the best of luck, bro. Here's the second story. I'm a 26-year-old guy and I recently moved to a new city for work. I moved into this building that's just got like 4 flats and a floor, and right across the hall from me, there's this married couple who look like they're in their mid-30s or something, and they've got a kid. The wife is this really attractive, mature-looking woman, and over the last few weeks I'd interact with her whenever we met in the hall. I did have a slight crush on her, but that was mostly harmless. The last few days, she'd occasionally gotten a little flirty, which I admit was as exciting as it was confusing, but I didn't think any of that to be serious. Today we were talking about the holidays and stuff. She told me that her husband has to go to his office for work, and I mentioned how I've still got the option to work from home. She then crossed a line and told me that I could come over to her place one day after New Year's if I felt like it, and quickly gave me a certain look that kinda made me stop breathing for a second. And I just realized later that after New Year's, her kid would be at school too, so she's actually inviting me over to her flat where we'd be alone. Now here's the confession, I am extremely tempted by the offer. I know that you'll judge me for it, but I honestly am. I've never had such an attractive woman interested in me before. I get the feeling that she's not too happy with her marriage. We're in India, and from the looks of it, she had an arranged marriage, which is pretty common. A small part of me feels guilty, but most of me wants to go forward with whatever this is if she wants it to. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell for any future cheating stories.